everybody. This is Sam Taggart with Can't Knock This, and I have a really special guest all on finance today. We have Brenan Volpe, and he is currently a financial planner at Sterling Fox Financial, but he had done door-to-door since 2008 and worked his way to, VP of a satellite company and has some great accolades. He was over 400 account satellites in 1 year, top year, back-to-back with Satin, was purchased by Dish One, ran, 8 summers, and then kind of transitioned into the financial sector with his dad's practice. And super excited to have you on the show, Brenan, and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, like you said, I did 9 total summers in door-to-door, from being a rep, being an office manager, being a regional manager, and then for a few years I was the vice president of training at Satin. And so I'm very passionate about door-to-door. I absolutely love being able to help people achieve their goals and learn salesmanship, and it's been a wonderful road. I finally kind of stepped over into my new career as a financial advisor. It's been my plan since I was 10 years old to join my father's practice, and so finally cut the cord and went and did that. But I'm still involved in the door-to-door world through the finance angle now, which is great. And I love working with all my door-to-door guys and helping them maximize their income and actually use their money to better their lives. So it's been great.
And so you've kind of kept a cool relationship with Dish One since your exodus, and tell us a little bit of involvement, how you've kind of helped retain your door-to-door, passion, and still involved, but obviously not knock doors anymore. But tell us kind of how you stayed involved.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a great relationship with Dish One and the guys over there. You guys have probably seen, the podcast with Mark Cram and Ian Lent and those guys. And so I kind of came to them with a vision of, hey, what's even better about teaching you guys about salesmanship all day long is developing additional training programs in leadership, in entrepreneurship, in finance and things like that. And so I've been able to develop an entire education program revolving around helping reps actually get ahead financially and use the money that they're earning in the summers to really do all the best tips and tricks on saving, investing, getting out of debt, budgeting, all those kind of things that can really help them take their motivation and their why and their salesmanship to the next level. And it's been great. We've been developing that program over the last year, and I'm seeing a lot of really good, outcomes from it. So it's something those are my 2 big passions, is door-to-door and, getting guys out there early in life making money. And then obviously my other big passion is financial principles and being responsible with money and, using that money to better your life. So it's been kind of a dream come true for me.
That's cool. No, it's super cool to see people kind of pursue their passions, and hopefully you've made a lot of money. And obviously, chatting before this, you've done a lot of different investments yourself. And so I like people that have been able to make significant dollars in this industry and then, walk the walk. Like I feel like a lot of people that move into financial planning, they're like low-level guys that try to go pitch people on managing $1 million of their cash. And it's like, well, heck, are you willing to invest? Well, I don't really have the money to invest. And, I think it's cool that you've actually kind of built the portfolio yourself and done the trials and errors, and that's big. And then obviously growing up with your dad, I'm sure he's taught you a lot of cool things. So you kind of have this principle called the path to financial freedom and these 5 principles. And so today what we're going to do for any of the listeners is we're going to really just do more so training on, these 5 principles to financial freedom. And Brennan's going to kind of walk us through that. So let's start with kind of the first step. What's step 1?
So the first step, before the first step is really just trying to identify your mindset about your career door-to-door. What do you want to get out of it, and what your path is that you're currently on with your finances. It's a good thing and a bad thing. The industry is fantastic. We're guys can go out and make tremendous amounts of money. But unfortunately, kind of the culture is to be a lot more focused on driving expensive cars and living in $1 million house and going on trips every month and spending all your money on clothes and partying and everything like that. And so, I mean, anybody listening to this, either is in that boat or know there's many people in that boat where they've been doing door to door for years and years, and they really are still living paycheck to paycheck. They're not getting ahead financially. They're spending as much as they're making. And so that's kind of what this whole program is designed about, is turning it on its, it's on its ear a little bit and trying to realign your purposes. And I found that not only will you save a lot more money by going through, these principles, but it'll actually motivate you to sell more. When you know that, hey, I'm not just going to sell enough to live off of, to pay my bills. I'm going to sell more than that. I'm going to get extra money to help better my future. It will really help you take your sales to the next step, by understanding what, extra money that you can earn now and save is worth so much more to your future self. And so
there's something
identifying where you are currently.
Well, there's something to say on that, and I wanted to touch on that real quick, because I've trained and managed, and you've trained and managed a lot of reps, and what you'll find is so many people make what they need to make. And,
Exactly.
They say they want a cool truck, or they're like, yeah, I want to do this summer so that I can buy X, or I can have X.
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's like, that's not really that cool. So like, you're probably going to just make enough to survive. And I think,
and then you'll justify it away and saying, okay, I don't really need to try anymore because I have enough to live off of, right? And that's why you see so many people not hit their real goal. They hit their minimum goal because they don't have that push and that drive to have extra, right?
Yeah. No, that's so key. Anyone listening to this, it's like, how to be a top performer? Well, yeah, get over the fact that whatever your necessities are, and start creating wealth for your future family and generations. And that's what we want to really jam on. Let's jam on that, yeah.
And it's been great, because at this one, it's very black and white. Those that are focused on their future are the top reps in the company, period. One of my reps, that's been investing with me for a few years now, Calder Bonnet, he went out this last year and was the number one rep in the whole company. And it's a lot of these types of things that just, you're not even thinking about the money. You just want to be the best, and you're setting yourself up for the future. And just, it proves itself day after day and year after year. The guys that are focused on the long term always are going to be able to get through the hard parts a lot easier.
Something that's important to speak on is people don't realize that you could go ham in door-to-door for 4, 5, 6 years and literally set yourself up forever. I mean, what's crazy, and I don't like to boast or anything like that, but like I'm like building my dream home right now. I'm using the funds for like the appreciation in the real estate I bought 4 or 5 years ago, and literally just made so much money that I could go buy my dream home strictly on appreciation.
Sure.
And just principal the tenants paid. Like, it's crazy, but it's like, I had the opportunity at 22 to go buy a home and to buy another one. And like, people don't realize that instead of buying a truck for $40,000, that's a down payment on an investment property. And in 5 years, that investment property, or in 10 years, that, just people don't plan and for like, that was my whole motivation. It was like, I want to go be in real estate. Well, so many people say that, but they like, well, these things are more important. So a truck, a boat, and then real estate, it's just like, whoa. We're doing it backwards, because literally any door-to-door guy has the potential earning to like set themselves up for life. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting, because most of the people I talk to that actually do have money in investments, it's not because they're planned for it or have been doing good things. It's because they have been making great money for long enough that they've literally just run out of things to buy. And so by default, they just have started, stockpiling cash. That's not really like the best. That's better than nothing, but it's definitely not where they could be. And like you said, there are people that could do this job for 6, 7, 8 years and literally live a work optional lifestyle for the rest of their lives. You might not have enough money to never work again, but you could go be a high school basketball coach for the rest of your life and live off of what you earned early in your life. Do whatever makes you happy for the rest of your life by saving and using these principles to save up enough money to where you were set for life. There was really not a lot of that could knock you off of your life path at that point. And not many people get that. They want to come out of this job with nice cars and nice houses and not much else. And I would challenge every one of you to ask yourself, are those things going to help you achieve your purpose in life? Because this job, I'm so passionate about it. I did it for 9 years and it helped me achieve my purpose in life. And so that's why I'm very, very passionate about it. Taking control and not just getting caught up in having the best stuff and doing, and don't get me wrong, I've got a nice car and I live in a nice house. You can do both. You can have a fun life and still save for your future at the same time. So,
but there's also the delayed gratification piece of that. You know, like I still drive a Kia because, you know, every time I'd get tempted to go buy a nice car, I have a 2011, you know, Kia hybrid, like nothing cool. But it was the temptation of going and buying a new nice car, and then I'm like, I'd rather put that money towards another property, or you know, and it's that delayed. And now I'm in a position where it's like, maybe I do splurge for a second. You know what I mean? Like I just think that delayed gratification that, like sales reps, we're ADD, and for us it's like, oh yeah, that looks really cool. Boom, impulse, like, and that's what literally traps so many reps. So many reps.
I always ask my reps, would you rather have, you know, a car today or a vacation house in Italy, you know, in 20 years? That's literally the question. You know, do I want something today or do I want 10 times more later in life? And that's, nobody thinks that way, but that's really how you have to do it. So it's very, very gratifying for me. Literally, if I can teach somebody that one principle, delayed gratification, that just made them a millionaire. They don't even know it yet. It's awesome. So
you want to hear another one? Okay, so I'm not going to use any names, and if he's listening to this, it's all right. I love him. And I get home from one summer, and one of my reps, a leader above me, convinced him that the best thing he could do with his money was to buy a BMW so that he can recruit better. He literally took all of the money that he had, bought a BMW, and a few weeks later is calling me asking for an advance. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. You're driving a BMW asking for money, but trying to show a prestige of I'm a bad A. But you do got a BMW. Right. That's really cool. But the reality is sad. So
that's
sad.
The problem right there. People are so much more worried about appearing to be wealthy than actually being wealthy. I've sat in recruiting meetings, and instead of showing them my nice car, showed them, and this sounds really douchey, but showed them my bank account and said, hey, you know, I drive a Chevy Impala, but I'm 26 years old and I've got several $100,000 in the bank, right? That's way cooler to me than driving a nice car.
You know what? You know what's so funny though? You know what's so funny? That it, like, the guy that does that to me recruits me. The guy that's like, I've got some cool car, and I'm like, oh, look at me, I wear freaking G-Stars and blah blah blah. I spent $400 on this shirt or jeans or Lulu's, or like, oh, I only wear Lululemon. I'm like sitting here going, I wear effing Walmart and I don't give a damn. Like I'm like, sorry, but it's so funny. The CEO of my company, Kelly Walker, he literally has Walmart jeans and he's a multi-millionaire and he still drives a freaking 2001 like piece of junk, but he owns 27 companies. It's like so fun to like see and be inspired, and like there's a place where it's like, yeah, we need to live abundant, and there's certain aspects in life that are good to live abundantly and feel great and have that abundance in our life.
I've been really fortunate. My father is a great example to me. He makes well over $1 million a year, and just last year I pulled him by the year into a car dealership and got him to buy his first new car he's ever owned in his life, a $35,000 Jeep 17, and he's absolutely thrilled with it. But he's the cheapest, most frugal man alive, and he's worth many, many millions. And it goes to show, right? Like you can either act wealthy or you can be wealthy, and that's something that the door-to-door industry really needs to work on. Is that just wasting of wealth to appear wealthy? You know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, appearance is the biggest killer. And you know what it is we have a natural survival mode. Like one of our innate things to survive in society is approval. And so a lot of times we feel like this social pressure for I need to be approved or fit in, and so I buy this so that I feel this sense of approval or this sense of, oh, but this is like, I'll be liked more or seen as cool. And the reality is it's like that's something that puts a lot of people in a financial bind, which is worse surviving. You know what I mean? It's like, would you rather survive in debt or survive because you feel approved by your peers? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, and that's your first step, isn't it? Isn't it something to do with get out of debt or something? Or what is the number one?
So yeah, the first step is to get out of bad debt.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of drawing a distinction. It's a very tricky thing because some people can't handle debt at all. And if you're one of those people, you know who you are, just get out of all debt. Debt doesn't have to be a terrible thing. There's good debt and bad debt. A good debt is one that can help you raise your net worth over time, such as buying a home, right? That's a good thing. You're not wasting money on rent. Part of your, mortgage payment every month is going towards your principal, which means you're raising your net worth over time. Everything I talk about in my principles is about raising your net worth, because it doesn't matter if you've got the $10 million house and all the cars, if all of it's financed, your net worth is zero, right? So, a rep that makes 20 grand in the summer and saves 5,000 of it has a better net worth, has increased their net worth more than the rep that made $1 million and spent all of it. So, it really doesn't matter where you are, how much you're making. You could be increasing your net worth every month, every summer, every year. And so paying off bad debts, which are high interest, or things that you don't need, financing a boat, financing a toy, financing an exuberant car. You can finance a regular car at a low interest rate if it's responsible, it's not stretching you financially. That's not a bad debt. But
how about a new iPhone every 6 months?
Everything is probably not a good idea. But that's more of like a budgeting thing. You don't want to be your money like crazy. But so for me, a bad debt is anything above a 5 or 6% interest rate, or anything that you don't need. Period. Buying a car, you should be able to get it under a 5 or 6% interest rate. Buying a home, you should definitely be able to get under a 5 or 6 interest rate. Credit cards, though, are a perfect example. There's no justification ever for carrying a balance on a credit card. Having a credit card is great. Go ahead.
Can I speak to this? Because it's so interesting, the trap that door-to-door sales reps get in is they go, I'll put it on a credit card and it's only one sale. Oh, that's just like one sale. I'll sell one in a few days or the next week. I'll have a big week. I'll put it on the credit now, and all I need to do is go work really hard and sell a few, and it'll pay that off. And then what typically happens? Like, they're like, well, I already have it in hand. It's already mine. I now forgot the fact that, oh, shoot, I didn't fully commit to go getting those sales to pay that off. And so we live in this currency of sales, which is, in my opinion, like one of the most detrimental whirlwinds into like hell for door-to-door salespeople is when the sales are currency and credit is what they buy things on.
Exactly, because I put everything I buy on a credit card, but I pay it off at the end of the month. I have literally never paid one penny of interest in my entire life, but I get thousands of dollars of free flights and rewards every year. And so, again, if you can handle having debt, focus on paying off your bad debts, keeping good debts, because those will help you in the long run. There's nothing wrong with having credit cards or having debt. It's about having that discipline, right? Treating a credit card like a debit card. Only buy things that you can pay off that month, right? If you can't handle that, then just cut your cards up, because you're going to pay thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in interest over your lifetime. So it's all about interest, right? Paying off a credit card with 15% interest is the exact same thing as having an investment that earns a 15% interest. So it's a good thing. You're increasing your net worth by paying down your debt. That's a positive thing, and you'll watch your net worth go up over time. The key is what everybody does in America, which is the biggest problem, is as soon as they pay off one debt, what do? They replace it with another.
Oh,
right?
hey, I can't buy that until I get these couches paid off. It's like then I can buy this and finance that. It's like
they have a Netflix queue in their head of all the things they're going to buy. All the money that they're ever going to earn is already spent because they've got a list of everything. I see that every single day. Yep, as soon as I can afford it, I'm going to go buy that pair of pants I want. Those new kits that are so sweet. Like they've literally spent all of their money before they get it, and that is absolutely no way to live. Retire your debt and replace your debt. If you were paying $500 a month on a car and you now pay that car off, take that $500 a month and start putting it into a savings account. That is the difference right there. Instead of starting a new debt like everybody else does, go and put that money into a savings account, and boom, you just make yourself many, many, many thousands of dollars throughout your lifetime. And so that's kind of the first pillar. It kind of dives in deep on how to rank your debts and how to pay them off in the right order. In general, you want to pay off the debts with the highest interest rates first. If you make minimum payments towards a debt, you're pretty much never going to pay it off. I have a lot of clients that are literally in their 40s and 50s still paying on tens of thousands of dollars of student loan debt that they've been making the minimum payments on for decades, and they're not even close to paying them off. You will never, ever get out of debt unless you are making extra payments. Make extra payments, as many as you can, on your highest interest rate debt first. Once you retire that, take the entire amount you were paying towards that first debt plus your extra payments and start applying that towards your second debt. And it'll actually go a lot faster each debt that you pay off because you're accumulating more money that you're paying each month off on each debt. And literally, you'll be surprised. People that have been in debt buried for years and decades can pay off their debts very, very quickly when they're actually making the discipline to pay off and make extra payments towards their highest interest rate debt, and then go down the ladder and boom, boom, boom. It's a wonderful feeling. Anybody that's got debt knows how crushing of a feeling that can be. And to go for the opposite of financial freedom is being in debt. So if you can get a handle on your debt and at the very least pay off your bad debts, your high interest, and your kind of frivolous debt, pay that off. Don't replace it with more debt, and take that money and start putting it in savings, and you completely just turn the next several decades of your life on its head as far as your financial freedom goes.
Love it. So let's kind of move on to number 2.
Yeah. So the next step, and it can be a precursor to the first one, kind of just depending on where you are, but is budgeting your lifestyle. And a lot of people, I talk to them and they get really antsy. They hate talking about budgets. They think I'm just going to sit them down and tell them I can't spend money anymore or do anything fun. That's not what budgeting is, in my opinion. Budgeting is simply understanding where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. Somebody smarter than me said that. I can't remember who. That's a quote.
I like that quote.
Say that. But so what I do is I have a system. There's a million different systems out there. The one that I like and I use and I recommend to people, it's called Mint.com. Have you ever heard of Mint, or do you ever use that?
Oh, dude. Love it.
Absolutely. It's a life changer. It does 4 things for you, okay? And by the way, Mint is completely free. So if you're not using it, set it up, use it. It'll change your life, period. Number 1 is it has the front page is a dashboard where you can import all of your accounts, all of your credit cards, your bank accounts, your investments, your properties, your mortgages, your debt, everything onto one page. You link your bank account with this account. So every day when you log in, it'll actually refresh all of your accounts and boom, spit out your net worth every single day. And whether your net worth is negative or positive, the key is to start tracking it and have your net worth be going up every single month. And so every single day when I log into this account and it updates all my different accounts and boom, spits out my net worth every day. The second thing it does, it will actually track your credit for free, which is phenomenal. Every month they'll give you a free updated credit score, but then even better than that, it'll actually dive into your the things that make up your credit. It'll tell you how many credit inquiries you've had, what percentage of your credit limits you're using, any derogatory marks, how many lines you have open. And so it'll actually in depth show you what you need to do to increase your credit, which is a whole other part of one of my things, and I won't get into it now, but having good credit is so beyond important in this day and age. And so being able to watch your credit score go up over time is a hugely motivating factor for you to be making good decisions, paying your bills, and keeping your budget tight. The next thing that it does, the third thing, is it will track every expense that you have. Every time you swipe your credit or debit card, everything that comes in or out of your bank account, it tracks it for you. So you can go on there once or twice a week, and you'll see all your transactions, first of all, but then you can categorize them. So restaurants, that was my mortgage payment, this was my charity payment, my cell phone bill, all of the different things that you want. And then that's the fourth thing that it does.
Yeah, it's always important though. In my experience, it's like I always at the end of the month I go through all my transactions and I kind of recategorize it because they auto categorize for you most things.
Sure.
But some of them it's like, wait, that shouldn't be in education. That was in fun or whatever, So I would just double check that.
It's right.
Yeah,
and
80% right.
I go through probably once a week and just recheck and make sure everything's categorized correctly. Because then the fourth thing is it imports everything into automated budgets for you. And you can customize the budgets. It'll kind of start you off with some generic ones, but you can fully customize which budgets they are and then how much they are, and you can change them over time. So once a month, my wife and I will sit down and we'll look how we did last month, and then we'll look to see if we need to raise or lower any of our individual budgets, right? Our rent, our utilities, our eating out, our gas, our travel, everything. You can have it as customized as you want. And so literally between those four things, you will know exactly where your money is going. I used to use this. I've been using it for years, but for the first few years, I didn't use the budgeting. I just used it as like my net worth tracker. And then I finally sat down and went through and started categorizing, all my expenses. And I was shocked. I was literally blown away. And I'm good with my money. I thought I knew how much I was spending, but I was literally spending thousands more than I thought I was.
Isn't that crazy though? Like,
I spent, yeah.
Your money goes, it goes so fast on little things that you don't realize.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the big one for door-to-door guys is the gas station, right? I've been blown away at times. I've been driving out to area with reps, and they'll walk into a gas station and literally buy $15 worth of energy drinks and chips and beef jerky, and then I'll pick them up at the end of the day, and we'll stop at the gas station on the way home to go to the bathroom, and they'll walk in and come out with $15 more worth of chips and energy drinks and garbage and candy, and then complain to me about how they don't have any money. I'm like, you're spending $30 a day at the gas station. That's $900. Of course you don't have any money.
Yeah, that's $3,200. What's crazy? It's so if you spend $30 just on like minute little things a day for the whole summer, it's $3,200, which the average first year rep maybe makes 15, 20. I mean, literally a fifth of his money is gone in stupid little gas station visits. It's like wild.
Exactly, that they don't even think about.
Yeah.
And so literally just making those, when I went through it, I had spent $300 at Chick-fil-A one month. I could never have fathomed how I did that. We were spending over $1,500 a month on Amazon, between my wife and I, and never thought about it. And so
Amazon addicts, literally, dude. Prime addicts.
Oh yeah, it's bad, dude. So what the key of this, two things about the budgeting is, first of all, the net worth tracker is so key to be able to watch your net worth. If it ever goes down, it means you're doing something wrong. Number two is know what 1 month of life costs you, okay? What that means is do this for a few months, average in, figure out what your average month costs you of life, okay? When I first started doing this, my average month cost me $7,000 a month. We were spending a lot, we were eating out a lot. And now I'm very proud to say I've gotten it down to $2,000, that'd be great, $5,000 bucks a month. And that's pretty good for where I am, houses, I paid off all my cars. I know exactly where every dollar goes, because I can tell you it is a lot easier for your monthly budget to go up over time. It is very difficult for it ever to go down. And so, take the time to know what 1 month of life costs you. That's really going to help you also during the off season to know how much money you need, to get through the off season. A lot of guys, two problems. Sometimes they don't track their money and they run out of money, right? And then they're screwed and taking advances and start the summer off with credit card debt and way in the hole. Number two, a lot of guys will keep way too much cash on hand because they think they need it to get through the off season, and that money could be being in investments, could be doing other things for them. And so they're too scared to ever invest money because they don't know how much money they need to live. And so budgeting is really the cornerstone. You can make some progress without budgeting on your finances, but if you don't have a basic understanding of how much you spend each month and net worth tracking, you will never really make big leaps and bounds within your financial, path.
Well, another principle that I've kind of lived by on that regards is I live like I'm poor. Like it was always kind of my motto.
Yep.
It's like live like you're making only $5,000 a month and live like that. I don't care if I'm making 20 grand a month or 50 grand a month. I'm living like I'm making $5. And what happens is you start making 20, 30 grand a month in this job, and all of a sudden you start living like somebody that's making 20, 30 grand a month. Well, guess what? You only made that for 4 months, or you only made that for 5 months. So really you didn't make 30 grand a month. But if your lifestyle starts to mirror, a 20, 30 grand a month person, all of a sudden that's where you get in trouble as well. Well, because the reality is this job, because it has so many highs, peaks, valleys, and lows, like it's so important to like not change your lifestyle. Like all of a sudden you had one good year, now you're the millionaire. Yep. And like so many people live on this highlight of, well, 4 years ago I was top rep, and it's like you're still living like you were top rep, but you're not performing like you were top rep. Like that's a problem. Exactly. Your lifestyle changed, and it's like I just see it over and over. I just met with a guy yesterday on this.
Yeah,
literally.
That's one of the tricks I'll talk about on the fourth step about saving. But one of the things about budgeting, I will never keep more money in my checking account. My number is 10,000. I keep $10,000 in my on-hand money at all times, and then I always move any extra over into my short-term investment account. So that way, for me, I have $10,000 to live off of. I'm not going to buy anything crazy. If my wife ever asks me, we can buy something, I tell her we're completely broke. We can't afford it. If my friends want to buy me a deal for something like that, I'm broke. And that's the mindset. I'm not broke, but that's the mindset you have to have if you want to keep the money, right?
Your phone's a little muffled.
It's really, really hard for your money. You should never, ever part with it thoughtlessly or easily, right? Not to say you're not going to spend it, but it should be a big deal every time you buy something, because you work really, really hard for that money.
Your phone just got a little muffled, so put it closer. But keep going.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool. So that's budgeting. Like I said, it's kind of the cornerstone to all of it. You really can't do too much until you've got a basic grasp of where your money's going. So the next step is number 3, maximizing your income. And what that means is I've got kind of a worksheet where you don't just say, okay, I want to make 50 grand this summer. I want to make 100 grand this summer. Whenever you ask the rep how much they want to make, they just throw out an arbitrary number, right? And what my encouragement is to break your goal down into the very specific things that you want to accomplish financially this year. So, okay, I need $3,000 a month for the 8 months of the off season, $24,000. I want to retire $10,000 of debt. Cool, that's $10,000. I need to pay tuition for the next 2 semesters, so that's $9,000. I want to save an extra $10,000 into my short and long-term investments. Whatever it is, right? You're going to actually build out a list of everything you want to accomplish that summer. And generally what I'll find is people actually, the number that once they add it all up is higher than what their just regular blank number was. And number 2, they will be a lot more invested into that number that they've broken down, because if they don't hit that number now, they've got to give up something on their list. Are you going to not go to school? Are you going to not buy that engagement ring you want? Are you going to not pay off your debt? Are you not going to save for your future? You've got to give up something. And so guys are going to be way more invested into that number once they've really broken it down. First of all, you have to understand your expenses with budgeting. You need to understand your bad debt. And that's why this is number 3, is once you've kind of gotten a grasp on where you are today, you can put a number on paper that you're going to be way more motivated to hit. And when you're more motivated to hit something, you're going to make more money, period. And so by doing this, you're literally not only saving more of your money, paying less in bad debts and interest, you're going to actually sell more accounts, make more money, be more successful, and hit your goals. There's no way I could have done what I did for so long, being a top rep, being a top manager, selling for 9 years straight, if I didn't know I needed several $100,000 saved up in cash to buy into their father's practice. Like, there's no way I would have been able to do what I did on the high level that I did without knowing what my goals were. And when the day is hot and you know the hours are long, you'll always find a reason not to work unless you've got a really strong why. There's other things about why, but financial why can be just as important for a lot of people. So literally by doing this, you're going to save more and make more money, be more successful, hit your goals more often, which is great.
I mean, I there's something to say to that because, like, I don't know any door-to-door guy that goes out and knocks doors for another holy cause other than making money, like for something, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's like, we don't do this job to, like, man, I really just want to touch someone's life today and, like, knock on their door, you know, and just smile and hold them. Like, you know, let's be real. Like, we do it so we can make great money so we can accomplish other whys in our lives. Plain and simple.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of the maximize your income, and it just, I would encourage you, and the best guys already do this, right? But they break down their income goals very specifically, not only in what they want to do with the money, but also in other ways, like I want to get X amount of sales per day and week and month and, you know, all those kinds of things. So, just the more specific you can be with your goals, the more likely you are to hit them. And I've seen that in my own life for sure. So,
cool.
So the next pillar is, making saving into a habit. And what I kind of liken this to is, just like anything. Do you work out, Sam? Do you go to the gym?
I do, like, Beachbody in my basement and play basketball. I played at 5:30 this morning.
Okay. So you know, right? If you ever don't work out for a long time and then you start, it's tough, right? But at the beginning, it's really hard.
Leg day, you just avoid it. You're like, I'm not
Absolutely.
I'm not walking around like a freaking penguin for the next 4 days after squat day.
But then after a while, after you've done it for a few weeks, and you really get into your rhythm, you kind of feel weird without doing it, right? And a lot of guys on this call probably know that, right? You get addicted to it. That's kind of how it feels when you start saving. When you start making this, you know, sacrifices. At first, it's really, really hard because spending makes you happy. It makes you happy to go out to eat, to buy clothes, to go on trips. That's what makes you happy. After a while, though, after the initial period of sacrifice is over, when you start saving your money instead of spending it all, you'll actually start to really enjoy it. You'll look at your bank and say, wow, I can't believe I saved that much. It'll ask you to start to miss it if you ever, you know, aren't able to save it a month. And that's kind of the trick to get through that first initial period. If you start saying, okay, I'm going to save $2,000 a month, but I put it into a separate account, I'm not going to touch it. You're going to miss that $2,000 for a few months at least, right? Like, you're going to notice it. After a while, though, guess what? You'll still be alive. You will not die, and you'll start to forget about it. And then all of a sudden, whether it's $50 a month, I don't care what it is, start figuring out a way to make saving an automatic thing for you. For me, I do it a few different ways. I have an automatic transfer in my Wells Fargo account. It transfers $1,000 a month every month from my checking into my savings account. And that's like a build-up fund, just kind of a security fund for me. And then once my security fund is full, or if I've got extra money on top of that, then I'll transfer, you know, additional money. But make the commitment to yourself. I don't care if it's the off season. I don't care if, you know, if your money is coming in strong or not. Make a commitment to start saving something.
And what's
a lot of, go ahead.
Something to speak on that. So I've set that up 2 ways, right? I'll do the $1,000 a month to my savings account. But the problem is when you get in a bind, that $1,000 you've been, you know, now it's built up to, let's say, $4,000. You're like, oh shoot, I need that $4,000 to do this. You'll go spend it.
Sure.
But the my suggestion is have some account that you don't even know, like, the login, and you don't even know how to really get access to it. So I have, like, a financial planner dude, and I have, like, a whole separate bank that it, like, auto sends to them, and I really don't even know how to withdraw from it. And I don't even ask how, because I'm like, if I don't know, I won't touch it. If I know, there's that temptation of, oh, I maybe should go pull from that.
And that's exactly what I do. I've always had an investment account with my dad, and literally every paycheck I would get, I'd figure out how much I had, and then I would just email my dad and say, take this out, put it into my other account because I don't want
Yeah,
to
and
see
like
it,
make
right?
it really
And so,
hard to like get out. So
yeah, exactly. And I mean, for me, I knew I could get the money back out. It would take me a week or whatever, but I
yeah.
never would
It
pull
would
money
take
out
you
of
a
it
week
because,
though. It's like putting your credit card
exactly.
in a big ice block. It's like, oh man, maybe I
Yeah.
won't buy that. It's like, oh man, it's gonna take me a week. I'll forget about this splurge or this urge to go spend, and I'm over it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's big.
Yeah. So a couple of tips on saving is, again, you don't want to save too much. That's why the other things are so important. You got to really know what your budget is. You got to know what your cash flow is like. You got to understand your debt. Maybe at first you're not going to be saving money into a separate account. Maybe at first you're going to take that extra $1,000 a month and apply it towards your highest interest debt, right? The principle is the same though, right? Separating your money out, making a sacrifice on the short term to say, no matter what, I'm going to put this much money either towards my debt or towards my savings, or if my savings is full, towards my investments, right? And that principle right there, just doing that and making that sacrifice, that's why 401ks are so effective. People that have regular jobs have 401ks because they can contribute 5 or 10% of their income automatically, and it comes right out of their paycheck. They never even see it. That same principle applies to this, right? Make it an automatic thing. If you're paying on debt, just go into your log in and increase the amount that you're paying on that by an extra $1,000 a month, $500 a month, whatever it is, and then that becomes an automatic thing. That money comes out. You don't even think about it. It becomes less painful for you because you don't have to make that decision every month.
You know what's
And if you've
also
got an investment account, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know what's also important about that is we all go make our money in the summers. Well, what happens in the spring? Oh, that's when taxes are due. And so an
Sure,
important thing is
exactly.
to realize your employers tend not to be taking your taxes out door to door. And so if
Yep.
you're not doing some kind of small incremental thing, all of a sudden come spring when you have to write a $15,000 check to the government, it's like, where are you going to get that? Well, it's got to go from
It'll crush
somewhere.
you.
It'll crush people. And
Absolutely.
that's literally
Absolutely.
every spring. You don't know how many people have come to me springtime ready to go out for the summer, and they go, I need an advance because I need a sign-on. I'm like, you probably need a sign-on simply because you failed to plan for your taxes. Let's be honest. And he's like, well, yeah, I didn't realize. And I've had that conversation so many times. So it's like, just be smart about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the three different buckets of money that I tell people to have, okay? Number one, your checking account. You want to keep a couple of months worth of bills in your checking account, in my opinion. Number two would be a savings account. Keep an extra month or two worth of expenses in that just as a backup fund. Try to never use it, but have a few extra $1,000 set aside for emergencies, medical stuff, cover sound, whatever. And then the third bucket is like a basic investment account. Some money somewhere, it's a little bit harder to reach. Like you said, you kind of forget about it, and you pool your money there. Don't pool your money in your checking account. That's a swipe away, right? That's on your debit card. You can get that in a second. Even don't pool too much money in a savings account. You want to have some extra backup money, but pool it in an investment account, and then that's where you pay your taxes from. But
Yeah.
by the way, while the money's in an investment account, it's earning you whatever you want. You can invest in whatever you want, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% of earnings as opposed to sitting in a bank. Do you know how much you're earning on money in the bank, Sam?
Like 0.01 or something like that, like nothing.
0.01 is the average right now. So I talk to a lot of people literally that, most people have the problem they don't have enough money. I talk to a lot of people though that have the opposite problem that have literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in their bank. And that's just as bad, honestly, because think of all the things you could have done with that money. That's not going to help you achieve your long-term goals by having a bunch of cash sitting in the bank. And so you want to have your cash earning you money at all times in all places. And then once you've got that built up, boom, you're paying your taxes from that. Buy your house from that money. Make yourself disciplined with the money you keep on hand, but pool your money somewhere else that it can both be away from you. You're not thinking about it, but then also you could be earning money on that. And over time, that's going to really help you, achieve your long-term goals. So savings wise, make it as automatic as you possibly can. Keep your money into different places. I recommend having at least 2 or preferably 3 different buckets of money. That way you can mentally keep track of it. And then one other little tiny trick I used to always do was I would always make deals with myself. If I wanted to buy something, I remember 2 years ago I had this gun I wanted to buy for years and years and years. But it was a $1,500 Timber, 45. It's like my dream gun. And, I was always making great money, but I couldn't ever justify making this expense. And so I told myself, okay, if I'm in the top 10 sales reps in my company, by the end of the year, I'll buy this gun, right? And boom, 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 the summer goes by. I was 25th when I started that deal with myself. By the end of the summer, I was number 8. And so, okay, I made enough money, I made way more money to offset that expense. So you want to go buy a toy, you want to buy a razor, a dirt bike, whatever, earn it first. Save the extra money, and then, you've got your expense. Don't just go out and finance something or spend all your cash on something. You'll save a lot more money if you kind of make deals with yourself. And okay, if I put $10,000 in my investment account by the end of the summer, then I'll buy this thing that I want. You've kind of earned it. You paid yourself first, when you do things like that.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And I think important to kind of celebrate. Like some people get so obsessed with savings to where they don't celebrate. Like you said, it's like I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in my account. Well, don't go spend it on stupid stuff, but like, good job.
Sure.
Like, I like 2 years ago, after my last year at Vivint, I finally bought a razor, and I was like stoked out of my mind, and I've loved it, and it's been one of my favorite things I've ever bought. So, yeah. So what's the last principle?
Important.
We're running out of time, so let's just dive into the last thing, and then, dude, I honestly, I've appreciated this, and I think anyone, I've done a lot of these podcasts, and this is kind of the first one I've really focused on money, and, I'm like almost committed to the journey of like going and interviewing more people like you, because it's crazy, easy in this job to make money, but it's also crazy hard to keep it. And
absolutely.
I think I've just learned a ton from you, and I'm excited at DoorCon to jam and get to know you a little bit more, and hopefully, meet in person. And, so yeah, I've appreciated the time so far, and,
yeah, I'm excited, man. This is, it's been a good opportunity, and hopefully if there's anybody, listening that needs this type of help, feel free to reach out, and definitely go to DoorCon. There's going to be a lot of great resources there. As far as what do I do next. So the last pillar is kind of once you've taken all these steps is actually start investing for your future, right? And a lot of kids will come to me and say, hey, I want to throw some money in the markets or whatever. I want to buy some stocks. And I'll say, well, okay, what do your debts look like? What's your budget look like? What do you have in savings? And they'll say, all of those things, not the right answers. I'm like, I'm not going to invest your money. That would be irresponsible of me. You've got to get everything else in the right place first, before you should be throwing money around in the market, right? Not to say you have to be completely debt free and you have to, all that, but you've got to at least have some of the bases covered there. So when I sit down with somebody and say, okay, let's start investing for you, it really is an individual thing, person by person. Some people, it depends on what your goals are. So you're going to break your goals down into short, medium, and long-term goals. If you come to me and say, I want to buy a house next year, I'm not going to tell you to put your money in in a 401k and lock all your money up for the long term. Obviously, we're going to find good short-term investments for you, so that not only do you have what you've saved so far, but we can let that money grow for the next year or 2 or 3. So when you buy your house, you've got even more money, for your down payment. If somebody says, I've got my house, I've got my cars, I've got all my toys, I really just need to start saving for the long term, then great. I'm going to talk to you about a Roth IRA, about a 401k for yourself, about 529s for the kids, about all those kinds of more long-term things. And usually what happens is that we'll do some sort of a mix. Even if most of your goals are short-term, I want to buy a house, I got stuff coming up in the next couple of years, I want to buy a business, whatever, still can be a really good thing to put money away in a Roth IRA. Roth IRA is kind of my big thing. It's a great first step if you've never done anything. You can put money into a Roth IRA, $5,500 per year, so it's kind of a small amount. That's also why it's a great first step. And then that money can grow over time, over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And then the best thing about a Roth is when you pull the money out later in life, you don't have to pay any money on the taxes or any taxes on the money that you've gained. So literally, I've been putting money in my Roth since I was 18. As soon as I got married, I started putting money in my wife's Roth. And my goal and my plan and the track I'm on is to have several $1 million in each of my Roths. And then boom, I can take that money out when I'm retired and pay 0 taxes on it ever. So it's a great first step. And the key to all of this is starting early. You know, Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it. Those who don't understand it will pay it for basically their whole lives, right? So the key is starting as early as humanly possible. The difference between, if you want to be a millionaire in your life and you start saving when you're 20, you can invest, I think the number is like $6,000 or $7,000 a year. If you want to be a millionaire and you don't start till you're 50, which is when most people start, you've got to be investing $50,000 or $70,000 a year, which most people can't do. So it's just letting your money grow over time, and then that money compounds, and it will grow exponentially. The earlier you start, the better and the longer that compounding effect will have to take place. And so wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, figure out those first couple steps, right? Get your budget in check. Make sure you've got some savings. Make sure that you are earning enough that you can, because the worst thing you can do is put all your money into the stock market or an investment, and then you screwed up, and now you want to pull all that money out. It might not be a good time to pull out and lose money. If you're investing for the long term, though, I mean, we've never had a 20-year period in the last 100 years that the stock market wasn't up. If you're investing for the long term, it's a very safe thing. It's not sexy. It's kind of boring, right? You're going to put your money in and try to earn an 8 or 9 or 10% return. But if you do that and you start early, you will be a millionaire, later in life. That's never not happened in the history of America, that you start investing early and things just don't go well for you. It always works out in the long run. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. The money, if you can make an extra $10,000 a year and save it, that $10,000 a year is going to be worth a lot more to you later in life. Most guys don't get that. They spend everything they make. And so literally, I mean, most people don't make money like we do young in life. So by making this money young in life and saving it, you're setting yourself up for a completely different life than otherwise. I mean, the large majority of the clients I work with here at our firm, they're in their 40s. If they're lucky, most people are in their 50s, and they're coming and saying, hey, I want to retire. What do I need to do? Well, you need to save $200,000 a month if you want to hit your goals, or a year. Sorry, you can't do that. Well, okay, you need to pick McDonald's or Walmart. Where do you want to work until you die? That's kind of a lot of people's retirement plan in America, and it's a very unfortunate thing, because people don't start thinking about it early enough. So yeah, it's all about starting early. It's all about investing specific to your goals. But yeah, there's a lot of really good tools out there to save money on taxes, invest for your future, avoiding taxes, setting your kids up for education expenses, to be paid, and then also just saving for the short term. Hey, buy a house, right? Great investment for yourself. But you really need to save in order to get there. So a lot of things that go into that last principle. I kind of summed them up, but, it's probably the most important piece. They're all very important, but if you never really get to that point, you're just living on cash your whole life, and you're never getting to take advantage of those compounding effects.
Yeah. No, people don't get it. I think I don't think people understand, because talking to any 40, 50, 60-year-old, and you say, if you could have done one thing different financially, what would have you done? They would all answer that question. Save more money when I was younger. Every single one of them.
Exactly. And it works the other way, right? Saving more and spending less. If you buy that $50,000 truck, that's costing you, you could literally, if you save that same $50,000 for 40 years, it could be worth $500,000. I mean, it's crazy. When you're young, everything you pay is costing you a lot more than what it's costing you today because of the opportunity cost of saving it later in life.
And that's a good way to look at it.
Start thinking about that.
It's a good way to look at it. It's like, okay, if I spend $10,000 on this razor today, if I could have put that in an investment and then in 10 years, that 10,000 is now 25,000, it's like, then I go buy 2 razors. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. I mean, you could kind of live, that's not a great way to live like every single little minute purchase, but like, it's a good principle to like ask yourself and, thinking a little long term and having some more discipline to your purchasing. It's huge.
It's a great thing to focus on if you are in the trap of wanting the best and the biggest of everything, right?
Yep.
Literally, instead of going out and buying a $100,000 car, and unfortunately that happens, right? Guys that can barely afford it do that, but buy a $30,000 car, and that $70,000 of difference could be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for your future. That's a very easy decision, right? And so just thinking about, this is not costing me what I'm paying. This is costing me dramatically more than that to my future self. Because again, I would much rather drive a regular car today and have my vacation home in Tuscany. That's kind of my
love it,
because I absolutely will have a vacation home in Tuscany one day because of what I'm doing today. So that's kind of whatever your big dream is. You're if you get on this path, you're a millionaire already. You just need the time to cook, right? That's how I really talk about it. There are some people, it doesn't matter how much money they make, they're never going to have a high net worth because of their spending and their budgeting habits. There are some people that make a lot less money that because they're on the right track and have these principles in mind, they're already a multimillionaire. They just need time to get there. That's the only thing they're waiting on.
That's great. Well, dude, I'm gonna end on that note. I think anyone who's listening to this better be motivated to go make more, spend less, and just take over the frickin' planet. I'm pumped up. Brenan, I appreciate you having the time and taking the energy to be on the show, and I love the fact that talking to finance people that have really understood our industry and the pains and the temptations that come with this job. So appreciate you sharing all your nuggets with us, man.
Happy to be here, man. I'm excited to help. I love working with door-to-door reps because otherwise there's not really a lot of education on this type of stuff, being taught out there. A lot of the opposite type of things being taught. And so if anybody needs the help, be sure to let me know. Yeah,
reach out. His Brenan Volpe, Volpe on Facebook. Add him. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Sam, thank you for your time, and I love what you guys are doing with the Can't Knock This and for D2D Con. It's a great thing, bringing all the door-to-door people together. So.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
All right.